Welcome back, Tasties and Tastettes, to another episode of FTWGT Weekly. It's your boy Lenny, joined again by Dante. I can never find an interesting way to say your name. I don't know. Well, I do, but like this time I just don't got it right.
Okay. I was going to say, usually you just intro me as a producer extraordinaire.
Or the man in the closet.
This time I was just, Dante.
Yeah. See, I just didn't want to run the man in the closet thing into the ground.
Ah, I see.
Because you are R. Kelly.
Trapped in the closet.
Every week on Monday, you can find this man trapped in a closet.
Jesus Christ.
And we are back with another episode full of some from media news, pop culture news, movie news.
Chock full of news.
Movie reviews, and of course, the taste test. But if you could, before we get into all that today, drop a like on this video. Give us a follow or subscribe if you are not already yet doing so. Share the podcast, tell a friend, ask a friend, and of course, hit the notification bell wherever Dante told me it was. Like here,
under the video,
here, like right.
Somewhere down in that region.
With no further ado, I did have one thing I want to talk about, and every time I've thought about how I was going to bring this up, it just sounds like a Seinfeld bit in my head. What's going on with planes these days?
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude, I've just like found. Have you been seeing all the issues planes have been having?
No.
So I don't know why it's just hit my algorithm. It's probably because there was this whole thing with like Dave Portnoy like buying a bunch of like Spirit Airlines stock and it tanking, and then it's been going up. So it's just been showing up more in my algorithm, like plane stuff. But you saw the one a couple weeks ago, that Alaskan airline flight that had the side of the plane blow out.
Oh yeah.
So like. They had part of the plane blow up. Like somehow the two people who were supposed to be sitting in those seats weren't there for their flight, which is crazy. Nobody died or anything. I guess a couple people lost cell phones. They flew out of their hands. But then I saw another one like yesterday where I forget what airline. I think it was Virgin Airlines. They couldn't take off because passengers looked outside and saw that the wing was missing screws. Like there was just holes where there were supposed to be screws.
I don't like that. It's passengers saw it, like the fucking flight crew didn't know.
Yeah, and then today, Dante, I saw one where a wheel fell off as a plane was going to take off. And it just like veered to the right. Though,
is like, there's a lot of planes out there that have parts held together with duct tape more than you'd care to know.
Well, this is what I'm concerned about. Is like, we're just like, first of all, we went a long time without getting this kind of news. And were they just not telling us?
Oh, yeah.
Like, how often are planes taking off that are, like, barely fit to fly? You know how you can, like...
I mean, who are we to be the experts on what's fit to fly and what isn't?
Well, you know how, like, there's, like, a letter scale for a restaurant to be open?
Oh, yeah, like the health code?
Yeah.
Shit.
Like, you don't have to be an A to have your, like, restaurant open, right? Like, you can be, like, a B-, a C, and have your restaurant be okay to eat in, I'm pretty sure. Can you look this up? What's the minimum letter grade for the health code like a restaurant needs to be open? I'd be interested to know that. But my point is this. What is the letter grade that a plane has to have for it to be able to fly? Because do you think it's okay to put people on a plane without an A letter grade? You know? And you know what alarms me even more is these planes are, like, these days are supposed to be safer. And like everything, because like technology's advanced. Imagine what planes these guys were flying on, like the 80s. Remember, like when people could smoke on planes?
Yeah.
Man, I wish it. What would you think about? Oh, you would die if you went on a plane and people were just lighting up cigarettes everywhere, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd need like an oxygen tank or something.
You'd be like hitting the like emergency buttons.
Yeah, I'm just pulling the mask from the top. They're like, dude, like we're good. And I'm like, no, I'm not.
Imagine if that was just a feature, like that was just already hanging down. You're like, is there a problem on this plane? It's like, no, we just have smokers on here.
Yeah.
Just
do I have to pay extra for a non-smoking plane?
Or like a non-smoking section, like this it's like restaurants. So it's like instead of first class, there's smoking.
I don't
section,
think planes can have a non-smoking section. They're all circulating the same air.
Yeah, but like if you put a curtain up,
that's not how it works.
Did you find the letter grade?
Yeah. So, basically A, B, and C are all operable. Anything under that, it has to be shut down.
And do those always have to be like on the front of the building?
I think they just have to be displayed somewhere in the restaurant.
Because if you had a C grade, you'd probably like tuck it somewhere in the corner. Maybe put it by the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like, you're not framing that.
You put it on the ceiling because nobody ever looks up when they're in somewhere.
Or you put really small font.
Okay.
You reduce the size. Like, I had it. It was just like, it was a stamp. It wasn't a full printout.
Like, instead of getting the full 8.5 by 11, they have it like on a playing card.
Yeah, it's just a little business card. It says like, this restaurant is a C on the Board of Health.
Yeah.
Because like that legitimately has to mean like they don't clean their kitchen and stuff, right? For it to get a C.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like multiple things where they're just not basically being healthy or showing good hygiene, I guess. I don't know.
That's crazy. The Board of Health.
Well, no, the Board of Health is the one doing the grading. The restaurant is the one that's,
Yeah, well, I'm just
graded.
saying, you're like, it must be that they don't have good health or hygiene. It's like, well, they are the Board of Health that's certifying it, so I'm not shocked around those parameters specifically.
But it could be like dumb shit too, like, oh, the fucking cooks don't wear hairnets, like big fucking deal.
Dude, I somehow the other day, I looked down at the Dunkin' Donuts like sandwich wrap that I was eating. In the very first bite, I just like happened to notice there's a giant hair just in the edge of it.
That would make me puke.
Yeah, I just pulled it out.
No, I wouldn't be able to eat it after that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm complaining about C ratings at the Board of Health, and I'm like, man, just get rid of the hair. It did make me think for a second, though, how often because that's just the outside of the wrap. Like, who's to say there's just not hair inside the wrap all the time?
What, you think some sadistic Dunkin' Donuts worker is just cooking their hair?
I just think a hairy dude makes my food on a day-to-day basis.
Damn.
Nice guy.
Damn.
I knew exactly whose hair it was. I think that made it like kind of more awkward. So like I knew exactly whose hair that was. I don't know if that makes it easier or harder.
No, that probably makes it worse.
Yeah. I don't know. It alarms me that like planes are I understand that statistics wise it's very unlikely that you die in a plane crash, but that is under the circumstances of everything being okay. And if we're not checking planes for things as simple as like, are the wheels on tight? Are there screws in like bolts holding together the wings of the plane that I'm flying on? The wings feel important.
Kind of.
They feel moderately important. I don't see a lot of planes that don't have them. I don't see a lot of birds that don't have them either. Yeah. So most flying things have these.
Not helicopters.
They have blades, like basically the same thing. Like those things aren't screwed on well, like it's a fucking issue. Yeah, I just like those seem like very simple things. Like the side of your plane blowing out, that's enough to never make me fly again. But like I have to imagine that's kind of a freak thing.
Oh, right? Definitely a freak accident.
Like that one feels a little more like nobody can expect that to happen. But if you look outside and you see screws missing on your plane and they were just going to let you fly like that, that's a serious fucking issue. I wonder how often they check planes too, because like you almost think that they should have to check those daily.
I feel like they should be checked before every takeoff.
Exactly. And how do you lose the screws? They were there.
They rattled out on the last flight. Shit.
If it's multiple though, that's like you lost them all at once. I doubt that.
Is that like the type of thing where now it's like, fuck, there's a few screws missing from the wing. So let's send the least tenured guy on our flight crew down to Home Depot to grab a few screws. I
imagine the bolts are more like industrial than that.
So they're not just grabbing like wood screws from Home Depot?
It'd still be better than nothing. I'll give them that. Like you said, duct tape. I'd rather they figure out something more sustainable than that.
Duct tape is a real thing, though. And
like if they noticed it and were like, okay, so they had everybody not go on that plane, right? So either I assume that's more not that it's not fit to fly. It's more like
fuck
liability. Yeah. And like, we'll be fucked if like worst case scenario, something does happen and we knowingly let you fly. But if they said like to everybody on the plane, we can get you a later flight. Sorry about the screw issue. It is completely safe to fly. You can either stay on this one, you'll arrive to your destination on time, or we can get you a flight at a later time, but it's going to be a few hours till the next flight's available. What decision are you making?
I mean, hey, now you're giving me a choice to increase my chances. I'm taking the next flight.
Okay, even though they told you it's okay.
The problem is now we acknowledge the problem, and I'll be pissed at myself if I hop on that flight, and that's the reason I die.
That's like 3 hours less of vacation, though.
Big fucking deal.
I don't know. It's an interesting question, though. Like,
3 hours less isn't that much. Like, you don't sleep
okay,
that much
maybe
on
if it was a
vacation
day,
anyways.
like, what if it was a day later? Like, what's the timeline where you would still just take that flight?
If it's a day later, yeah, fuck it. I'm taking my chances.
Yeah, that's exhilarating now. You like driving fast.
That's exciting to you?
I mean, like, you've driven 100 and something miles an hour on the highway, right?
I mean, yeah.
Anything can happen.
I'm in control.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors you're not in control of going that fast.
I'm more in control than being a passenger.
I guess. Who's really in control of the plane? The computer?
Well, I mean, the pilots still control takeoff and like landing, and I'm sure they have to take over when there's like turbulence and whatever, but
We talked about like electric cars with like self-driving capability a couple weeks ago, right? And the ability to just let complete trust take over. Is there a real difference there? Like you're not checking your car every time you get into the vehicle, right? And how many times have you been driving your car, Dante? Like we've driven cars in our day that have just had random issues. Your tire popped in the highway, no?
twice.
Recently.
Yeah.
Say you're driving a self-driving car. Like that's kind of the same deal. Like those things can just happen.
Yeah. I just feel like there's a higher risk of fatality if there's a failure in the air versus driving on the ground.
Well, yeah. But like
I'm like, driving on the ground, I'm like, whatever, tire pops, something goes wrong. Like, yeah, I might get fucked up a little bit, but chance of me dying, yeah.
I mean, that dude landed the plane in the ocean, didn't he? Sully?
Yeah, sure, but like, that's not everybody.
That happens. You might live.
Yeah.
I think there's a show on Netflix now. I had seen like a trailer for it, about a plane that crashes in like the Appalachian Mountains or something, and like the people have to people who
eat each other to survive.
It is a group of people. I didn't watch it, so maybe they eat each other. I don't know. But yeah, they have to like get back to like civilization type deal or some shit. I don't know. Looked kind of interesting. Just think it's kind of crazy. Like the planes just seem like something. To your point, I'm being devil's advocate on this, right? I'm just trying to like create a conversation there. I think I might still do it. I don't know why. I don't have a good reason for it. I'm just a big like it's not going to happen to me guy.
Oh, you're just like shoulder shrug. If it's my time, it's my time.
Well, to your point, like some things are outside of your control, and I do actually to a point think like. Because I wouldn't go like skydiving, for instance, because like I know it's safe, but like why put yourself in that position? But maybe I would just be like, yeah, I got time. I don't need to be on this flight. It depends how drastic it is. Like if it's one screw missing, maybe I'm taking the flight still. If it's like 7, be like, maybe that wing's going to fly off.
I don't think we're getting that context.
Yeah.
You're going to get that context from the panicked passenger that at this point is exaggerating.
Or you're going to get that context once somebody actually dies.
That's
like, then you get the report of all the things that were wrong with the plane.
But like in the point of making your decision, you're making this decision based off the frantic passenger that's standing behind you that's like, there wasn't a single screw on that wing. You're like, well, fuck. All right, I'm going for it.
But a wing, dude. Like, is that the most important part of flying? Having wings?
I think that's the most important part of keeping you in the air, yeah.
I've been like flying doesn't make a lot of sense in general, right? Like
we're not the Wright brothers. I'm not going down that road.
Maybe we'll do an episode one day on how flight works.
Oh my god!
Because I mean, like it's been brought to my attention, and it's very obvious too. Like planes weigh a lot.
Yes, they do,
and they're just coasting in the air all day long above us, no problem in the world. I don't get it. Those wings don't flap.
Well, they have some sort of like jet turbine thruster thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Gravity though.
But like that's what the engine's for, to push against it, right?
They're flying lateral though. They're not driving at like an upward trajectory the whole time or flying.
But that's why there's like angles to the wings and shit.
All right, dude. We'll do an episode one day.
Oh, fuck.
Let's get on to the news. I didn't.
I didn't expect to spend 15 minutes on that either.
What's going on with planes these days?
No, we're done with that bit.
Yeah. So here's the tough thing about the way the podcast release. We're gonna talk about some like news that just dropped today, and like realistically, it's gonna be almost a week till like this comes out. So more information might come out. It might be a little bit old news at this point, but so today, WWE signed their rights over starting in 2025 for Raw to appear on Netflix weekly. Obviously interesting to the podcast on a couple fronts. First and foremost, like as a lot of people know, I am a rather large wrestling fan. Have been that way my whole life. Still watch weekly.
For a diet. Huh?
For a diet?
You're a rather large wrestling fan?
That's fucked up.
Sorry, yeah, no, this is a pot calling the kettle black situation.
No, that was a good one. Damn, that's usually me who hits those lines. Fuck. Shoots on the other foot now. Yeah. So I've watched my whole life growing up on it, still watch weekly. Royal Rumble's about to happen. You're gonna see this after that has happened already. So, congratulations, CM Punk, on your victory. If you ever see this. But also interesting because we talk about Netflix quite a lot on here. For a long time, it was mostly a hate relationship that we had with them. I've grown a little bit warmer on the Netflix front, not for anything other than like I feel like some of their content has been a bit better for me as of late.
The Kevin Hart action movie did it for you?
Still haven't watched it, any of them. But the thing that we usually get on them about is cost a lot, which I'll get to that in a minute and how this might affect some of that going forward. But they signed a 10-year deal for the rights to Monday Night Raw for $5 billion. That's a B, people.
And now that's going to get built into the cost of your subscription.
To a point, yeah. And to be fair, $5 billion sounds like a huge number, but over 10 years, it only equates to like, apparently I was listening to a couple shows before we recorded today. Yeah. And so initially, it's like SmackDown just signed on new rights going forward with USA to leave Fox earlier this year. And they got about a 40% increase on their year over year revenue growth from that. They signed on their NXT to the CW channel over from USA earlier this year as well. And that was like a 70% increase. The Raw increase is only about 20%, which is interesting because it's a little lower than what people expected for them to go. And I think for them, it's more of a forward-looking move than anything else. The possibilities, because Netflix obviously has a very large... the WWE itself has a very large dedicated fan base, but also Netflix itself has a very, very large fan base. And I think you also see the movement away from traditional TV, opening yourself up to larger viewership numbers by going to a streaming platform. I can speak for me personally. Like I haven't had the USA Network in my home for 7 or 8 years now. So a majority of my time that I do ever watch Raw is finding a stream somewhere anyways. So this is a very advantageous move to anybody who has cut the cord in that matter because you've not had the programming available to you in the same way. So I think that's a huge move for them in that front. Also, interestingly enough, so like they're already on Peacock. They already have like all of their live events going to Peacock and everything. That stuff stays exclusive. So they have revenue streams coming in from like 4 different places now. Peacock, I think their deal comes up at the end of either 2025 or 2026, and it's timed up at the same time as the UFC is timing up with ESPN. And if you don't know this, Dante, you probably don't know this. WWE and UFC are owned by the same company now. They're owned by the TKO.
I actually did know that.
Yeah, it's a TKO company. It's like Ari Emanuel and all these people. But today, also, interestingly enough, The Rock was named to the board of TKO, which is a big move as well. Like, obviously from a figurehead perspective, but he is a very good businessman. I think we can all look at it that way too. So it makes sense to put him as one of the faces to the brand. And the idea is that when both the WWE's agreement with Peacock comes up and the UFC's deal with ESPN comes up, there's a group negotiating thing for their pay-per-views that could be done, which could be shitty for people like myself who, if they go back to a model of charging for pay-per-views every month, would be a fucking nightmare for me. I hope there's not a world where we're ever going back to those days with the WWE. Even if it was $20, I no thank you. Like I would still watch, which it would just fucking suck. It's been very nice having Peacock and like primarily subscribing for the WWE stuff, but also having the ability to get things like Sunday Night Football on there, New Girl, The Office. They have some like Five Nights at Freddy was exclusive to them, I believe. Yeah. Like they have a decent amount of exclusive stuff that comes to them as well. So I just wouldn't want to go like it makes sense for me paying monthly for Peacock. It wouldn't make like I would hate having to pay for a streaming service like ESPN makes you do, and then also having to pay for monthly pay-per-views like they do with the UFC. And not only like paying, like you're not getting any type of fucking discount. You're still paying like $70 a month for these pay-per-views,
which is ridiculous. Like you have to pay a subscription to get access to pay more.
Yeah, it's robbery. Now people can justify the ESPN thing. I don't subscribe to it because I subscribe to so many streaming channels that it's just one that I can't bring myself to do when it's primarily UFC, and I wouldn't pay for the events. I don't think it outs anybody at this point. I don't pay for my UFC events. I watch, don't pay. Fuck that. I wouldn't recommend anybody pay. This is a whole other side tangent, but like, I'm not lining Dana White's pockets. Fuck that guy. Or anybody else really associated with it, especially over the past couple of months. And like, this is more of a moral thing, and like, you can stand and feel wherever you want on it. But like Colby Covington a couple months ago with like the stuff about Leon Edwards' dead father. And then you've got like Sean Strickland, who is a champion who just fought this past weekend, lost his title. Just talking about like gay people and trans people and shit that like, whether you have an opinion or not, I don't really care. Like I'm not trying to like tell anybody not to fucking think the way that they want to think, but like
this isn't the platform for that.
Yeah, it's just what like I don't support spreading hateful things into the air for no fucking reason. And also a company who at one point like backed in like they fired, I believe, Matt Mitrione for saying a gay slur. They fined Nate Diaz at one point for using a gay slur online. They were a company that used to stand against this stuff, but now in the world of like anti-woke versus woke, they found a way to profit off of it. So they support it fully because their business is better than ever because they parade like Trump out to their events. And again, I don't give a shit like what you're into or not into. That's not really my gripe. It's more so like the messaging that's behind it that they're just trying to profit off of. And a lot of America in the world is too fucking stupid to realize what they're doing. Like they don't care about your opinions. They're not doing it because they support those values one way or another. They're just going in the direction of what makes the most money for their stock month over month. Tangent done. But I will not be paying for those pay-per-views. I will fucking steal those things all day long. And I don't even think it's illegal. I've always tried to figure this out. I think the actual legal thing is to be the one hosting the sites. It's not actually to be on the side of consuming the broadcast. I think it's the way it works. And that's why like they shut down the streaming sites. They're not coming after you as an individual, you know?
I think they can though.
I don't know, but like how? First of all, I don't even think it'd be cost effective for them to do so because what's the point in going after the one person who didn't watch their $70 pay-per-view versus the person who distributed your $70 pay-per-view to millions of people, right?
Yeah.
So and honestly, so much revenue comes these days from like clicks and shit on your like Twitter and everything else that like whether or not people are watching it for free or not, you're still getting money off the impressions of them using your hashtag on Twitter or some shit. So it all comes full circle, I think, regardless, but getting off track a little bit. The WWE thing, interestingly enough, all of those live events that are available on Peacock in the US, I guess in other countries, the deals don't work the same way, of course. So like I think in Canada, the UK, some other places in the world, all of that's going to now get lumped into Netflix as well, which is super interesting.
Okay.
The other part of the Netflix thing we talked about when we were going to get into so they did put out a release saying that essentially, this is paraphrasing, as they continue to add things to their brand to give you more content to watch to make their product more appealing, they hope that people can bear with the potential of cost increases to maintain your subscription. So I think that inevitably, yeah, that is going to happen. And I guess this comes back to the cutting the cord conversation, to where like it's expensive to cut the cord. Like that used to be an alternative that you could take. The other part to it though is that it's the freedom to watch what you want to watch. And like if it's a platform that you think is worth paying for, I guess it's really up to you.
I mean,
you know?
the advantage with cutting the cord is you can mix and match like bits and pieces that are important to you and like cut things out periodically. Whereas when you're tied to a cable subscription, it's just that one thing every month.
Yeah, because I think like a year ago, it was hard for me to justify Netflix. I've kept it regardless, and I found things to watch along the way. But I think a year from now, that $20 makes all the sense in the world to me, because I don't watch Raw any longer, right? So now I'm going to have something that's 3 hours of live content every week that I have not been able to watch that I do enjoy. And it's even, I think, going to be there after the fact, because right now they're signed on with like Hulu to have their things go up to Hulu like the day after or 2 days after or something. But now it's going to end up on Netflix. But the other benefit to Netflix is I guess they're expecting like 40% of their revenue that they're expected to make year over year is going to be coming from advertising. And the idea of signing on with like WWE is their idea of getting more live TV onto their platform, because the most that they can do for live advertising is not going to come from movies and shit that you watch, but it's more going to come from people already having the expectation from it being built in from watching on cable TV for so long. With live sporting events, there are ads that come along with that stuff, and that's where they're anticipating making the money. Now, they still will offer an ad-free package that you can pay for, and you won't have to see those ads. You can watch right through the commercials, which I think is also a cool thing, right? As far as like flexibility to pay for it how you want it to be. So if you want to pay an extra $8 or $9 a month, like we're going to give you the ad-free version, and you're going to see more content than the people who aren't. Now, how good that content is remains to be seen, because historically, in between commercial breaks in the WWE, there's nothing exciting that happens because they're not trying to show you things that aren't exciting, right? Like they're not trying to give away things that aren't exciting to people not watching on TV if they're doing a product made for TV. I think they're going to have to cater a little bit more to that audience now, with the idea that like probably half your like subscribers who do watch wrestling are going to have the package that doesn't have commercials. So you might have to spice that stuff up a bit more. But I think that it's a wise move. I think they're looking at their competition, such as Peacock. HBO now with Max has basketball on there. Like you can watch NBA games. I think it's like 1 or 2 a night is generally available for you to watch on Max. Paramount has soccer, and they have like local affiliate CBS for football. All of these other streaming platforms, though, at this point have, or a majority of them have, some type of live sporting or live TV aspect to what you watch. And I think Netflix has been the last streaming. They were the first streaming service, but they're also the last to transition into live broadcast. And I think that's an opportunity for them to get in. They've recently they haven't done too much live broadcasting, but they've had Love is Blind, I believe, airs on there, or Parrot, like one of the fucking reality shows. Who knows? I don't know. Paradise Island maybe, or some shit. But that airs
live.
That airs live on Netflix, and they also had the Chris Rock special air a couple months back live on Netflix. So they have started to make their foray into it. This will be their first full, I think, like push into that realm. They're also going to have exclusive like series and documentaries that they're going to work with the WWE on. So I think it's a smart move on both ends. I think it's interesting because it's the first time in a long time. Like, for those that don't really know this about the wrestling business, like the ratings war has always been a major part of wrestling. When there's competition in the wrestling world, the ratings war has always been one of the major things that's talked about, dating back to, I'm sure before this, but in my lifetime, like WCW and WWE, like a major part, or WWF at the time, the major part of that war was around the Monday Night Wars, which was a ratings war. It was Nitro going against Raw every week and seeing who could win the most watchers of the night. You know, and now we're in the modern day. It's not really a war because like AEW is not there yet, but it is competition. And like those indicators on where you're successful in the wrestling business, a lot of it comes from who is showing up to watch your product every week, right? Which would just make sense with any TV programming. An interesting note from all of this and the advantage to getting away from the need for ratings anymore for WWE is Nick Khan, who is like the CEO of WWE, was asked on the Pat McAfee show if there was a chance that Monday Night Raw would move away from the night of Monday. And initially he said, as of right now, the plans are to stay on Monday. But the thing about Mondays is Monday, for a large portion of the year, or like a third of the year, is a very tough night of the week because you have things like Monday Night Football. As recently as a couple weeks ago, you had like the national championship college playoffs taking place with games on Mondays that tank your ratings. Like there are a lot of things that can pop up on a Monday that they may want to steer away from. So there is also a world where it's no longer tied to Monday night any longer. They could shift the night of the week that you see Monday, like Monday Night Raw coming out on, which would be kind of crazy because it's like for the entirety of my life, it has been a Monday program.
It's been called Monday Night Raw.
Right. So, but I do think that it opens up a lot of different alternatives for them, right? Because it's no longer tied to a TV slot and be like what works best for a network. It's a little bit more of a conversation because like, you know, Netflix isn't necessarily appointment viewing. And I think that's going to be the hardest transition on the Netflix end of things is how do you create something that's been an on-demand platform for the entirety of its existence? How do you turn that into an on-demand platform where people show up, or not an on-demand, but like showing up at the time of something to watch it, you know? And I think that'll be an interesting part of the transition. But Netflix's numbers or viewership is not public knowledge. Like there's ways that I think you can get ideas, but they don't have to share that stuff publicly.
Which is wild.
So you're not going to have the same line of sight as to viewership. So it takes away this whole conversation that's gone on for a very long time in the world of wrestling. I won't go any further on this. We've gone for a very long time. Obviously, it's something I care about. If you also care about it out there, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it. I think it's a huge move. I mean, 10 years is a really long time. I guess there's option years at the end of that too. You never know. More stuff could move over as their other deals come up. Maybe Netflix likes what they see, and they're the ones that buy up the UFC and buy up the WWE stuff, and like for their pay-per-views, and you get more of that stuff there.
And by that point, Netflix is $40 a month.
Yeah, there's a world where that happens. Listen, do you think it's worth are you going to keep your subscription if the price goes up and you're not a fan? I think that's going to be an interesting thing is do you push away people who are currently subscribed to you because they don't care about the stuff that you're adding and they just see the cost that you're increasing? Because I'm sure that is the case for a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
Moving on though to some more, I guess this is more cost related stuff. I was going to touch on this one real quick. So Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler have a movie that's being shopped around. It's currently in a bidding war between Sony and Universal. The budget is currently slated around $90 million, and it's a vampire film. My only question I had about this is like, there's been a lot of things. We've talked about this recently on here. Like Michael B. Jordan's been tied to an I Am Legend sequel with Will Smith. Can you do 2 vampire movies? I mean, I guess like Robert Pattinson did it, but
I was gonna say, I think that's kind of different though, right? Like a traditional vampire movie versus something like I Am Legend.
I mean, what is a traditional vampire movie?
I don't fucking know. I don't
You
watch
said it, dude.
Vampire movies.
You said it. I'm just saying, like vampire movies can be a lot of different things, right? So that's why I'm like,
I guess
what
you're
is
not
traditional?
wrong.
Like,
I guess my whole point is like, I Am Legend is almost more like vampire zombie kind of thing.
Okay, I would argue like I saw The Last Demeter last year, and like that vampire is not that much different than
Fair.
what you get in I Am Legend. Like now there's different variations of vampires. I don't disagree. Like there are like let me suck your blood, like type vampires, or there's
Damn,
like,
you said that kind of sus, bro.
yeah, dude, I think those vampires are kind of sus. It made sense. There's like the violent vampires, like 30 Days of Night and like things like that. Like there's a lot of different variations, and that's where
There's
it's
also the fun vampires, like My Little Vampire.
Was that with the little kid from Jerry Maguire? I think it is. The human head weighs 10 pounds. Yeah, I also wonder, like, we're not getting as much vampire and zombie stuff now, but
well, there is that one that I keep seeing the trailer for every time I go to the movies about the little ballerina vampire.
What are you talking about?
I don't know the name of this movie, but like they
is it the one in the house?
Yeah, it's the one in the house.
Okay, so that has the girl from Scream in it. I saw the trailer. I saw part of that trailer before. Might have been before the movie I saw last week.
Abigail. That's
Abigail. Okay, it looked kind of good.
It looks like one of those like it's a bad movie, but it's going to be a fun movie kind of thing.
Yeah, like it reminds me of like House on Haunted Hill or like one of those kind of movies. Like, it looked kind of interesting. The cast looked decent for it too. But yeah, I just, are people still craving vampire movies? I don't know, like zombie movies, the same thing. This is coming from a guy who like a week ago was talking about The Walking Dead and The Ones Who Live coming back and being super excited. So I'm going to watch regardless, but $90 million budget ain't bad. And Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan obviously made Black Panther together. I think you're going to get a lot of people who show up just for the mere fact that they're working together again. I think they made that together, and they also made Fruitvale Station together. So these two have like a deep bag as far as and Creed, right? The first Creed.
I don't know. Am I gonna have to get on IMDb?
Yeah, double check that for me. I think he made Creed 2. Not Creed 2, but
Creed also.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Ryan Coogler.
Thank you. I have no idea how to spell Coogler.
Coogler.
Not how I was going like Keu.
It's not fucking European, dude.
Okay, no. Yeah, first Creed, Fruitvale Station, Black Panther.
Yeah, so like the times that these two have worked together, they have been, I would border on like iconic roles, iconic projects. So I think that just those two names being attached to it alone, like I'll see it. I'm pretty sure anybody will see it regardless. And I assume it's going to be not just like a basic take. It'll probably be more artistic in some ways or another. So I'm open to it, but it was just kind of interesting to me to get to see them attached to a vampire movie. Also in the movie world, they're currently working on a new Jurassic World script. I think I'm asking what everybody is asking. After Dominion, like, why? Like, why? I think we know why. Money. And I think it depends what they want to do. You can't reboot, right? I think you could have you did a reboot to a point with Jurassic World, right? I don't think that you can just reboot the whole thing and start from scratch again and be like, oh, it's just people opening up a park for like, you're going to have to build on like what you've already.
No, now we're up to Jurassic Universe.
Yeah. Like you've got to like kind of build on what you've already got. And I'm sure there's some interesting things that they could do. But to be honest, the first Jurassic World, good. The first half of Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, okay. Dominion, largely bad. I don't know that there is any like currently. I think you're coming back too soon. It's still fresh in people's minds that those movies weren't that good. And I think financially they did fine. So that's why they feel like they can still come back with them. But yeah, I just think it's kind of a suspect decision to work on that. And I'd be interested to see, like, I almost would want you to have a fully new cast. I don't want to go back to the same characters again. I think that their arcs are played out, both the original cast and the Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, like those characters. I think it's all done at this point. Like, leave it in the past. If you're going to do this, do something brand new.
The Jurassic multiverse.
Sure. Okay, and then the last thing I want to touch on before we did movie reviews, They announced the Oscars today. And again, like this, we are going to see this in a few days after this stuff has been announced. So this has already been probably talked about quite a bit. I did want to highlight some of the snubs, though, more than anything. I didn't really want to go through the categories or anything like that. I just wanted to look at a few snubs in particular that didn't make it on the list. Some that I don't really care about because I didn't see the movies, but some I think are kind of interesting and maybe even egregious. First of all, Best Actor. No Leonardo DiCaprio in there. Which didn't see the movie, but I think that he's just a name. If he does a movie, he should probably be in your Best Actor nomination. Killers of the Flower Moon, right? So,
what's funny is De Niro gets nominated for a supporting role for that movie.
Well, so it got nominated. Like the female lead is nominated for Best Actress.
Okay,
he just didn't get nominated for Best Actor. The other big one, and this one's a little more for me and you because we've seen the movie. No Zac Efron.
Damn.
Iron Claw, another snub here. 0 nominations.
Is -1 on here at all?
They got 1 nomination. There's actually a really cool video. Got for like visual effects.
Okay.
There's a really cool video of the people who worked on the visual effects team for that movie being in a room together when they found out that they got nominated, and they had this huge outburst. It's the first time a Godzilla movie's ever been nominated for Academy Award or whatever.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. Or an Oscar rather. TMNT Mutant Mayhem didn't get nominated for Best Animated Film.
Huh.
Not like crazy surprising, but I think it was worthy. Another huge one for me, Greta Lee, who has been nominated in like every other award show that's happening right now. Don't even know the movie. Sorry. But I know that people have been really big on her this year. That one's a big snub. The bigger part in this for Best Actress that I am shocked at her not getting. Is it the Lonely People or like Past Lives?
Past Lives.
That's what it is. Past Lives. Heard it's super sad. The other big one for Best Actress though that didn't get nominated, Margot Robbie. So speaking of supporting actors. Name
America Ferrera.
No, well, she also and Gosling, both of them nominated for supporting roles.
Yeah,
but Margot Robbie, no nomination as Barbie.
Huh?
Any thoughts on her or Efron not getting nominated?
I mean, I don't understand these nominations because I just feel like, how do they get down to these 5 nominees? And like, there's so much other like good shit out there. You know what I mean?
So this is my thing. It feels kind of similar to like a Rotten Tomatoes situation, right?
Okay.
That's what I was like looking at it thinking is like, and this has always been an Oscars thing for me because most of the movies that win Oscars Best Picture are movies I like, or are nominated at least, are movies I've never seen nor heard of.
Okay.
And we're pretty in the know, right? Like we go to a lot of fucking movies. I'm not the person seeking out cinema, like high education cinema, you know, like that's not necessarily my lane. However, I do pay attention and I usually know what people are saying is good versus not good. And kind of aware of things at least, right?
Yeah, so you have a decent eye for like critiquing the quality of a film.
Yeah, I mean, what did I tell you about that Emma Stone movie, right?
Yeah, Poor Things, right?
Yeah, like that thing's nominated all over this fucking thing. Ruffalo for supporting actor, her for best actress, like up and down it. I didn't need to see that movie to know the type of movies that they're like. That movie was going to be an award show darling, and it showed up on there. Oppenheimer has the most nominations this year, 13.
Shit.
Not surprising, right? Cillian Murphy with his first Oscar nomination ever, I guess. It's just, I say the Rotten Tomatoes thing to say, shouldn't public opinion matter? And if everybody went out and saw Barbie, if it was the most successful movie of the year, if they took like this movie about a fucking plastic doll and turned it into a social statement, how is that not getting some type of nomination? You know, how is she not getting looked at at the biggest award show of the year. And I'm not saying she has to fucking win. Probably shouldn't. Like, and I just think this is a genre thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't fit the genre that they want to have nominated for a Best Actress award. And I don't know what they look for out of it, you know. Because do you have the list up there of the women who are nominated
for leading?
Yeah, because there's only a couple of them to my mind that I recognized.
Annette Bening, Lily Gladstone, Sandra Huller, Carey Mulligan, Emma Stone.
Okay, but read the movie names.
Naiad, Killers of the Flower Moon, Anatomy of a Fall, Maestro, and Poor Things.
Do you know all 5 of those?
No.
You know 4 of the 5?
No.
You know 3 of the 5?
2.
Okay, I know 3.
Well, I know what Maestro is because we talked about it, but like I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, like I haven't seen it or anything like that, but I know 3 of the 5 movies. How, like, I don't know, like that's, if it's not even in a major cinema release versus the movie that has made a bunch of fucking money, it doesn't add up to me. If the supporting actors and actresses for this can get nominated, why is her role not up to that standard? You know, and I would go the same direction
for Iron Claw.
With Iron Claw, like the Zac Efron thing. It's like that movie emotionally resonated with almost any person who has seen it.
Yeah.
Brothers, no brothers, whatever the case. It resonated with almost anybody. And his performance in that movie is a large part for that. I think it's the most successful A24 movie, or one of the most successful A24 movies they've ever done.
I didn't even know that was an A24 movie.
I believe it is A24. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think it was A24. It's one of those small companies.
Gotcha.
To not have a best supporting for one of the brothers, it is A24. Just popped up on the screen in the trailer. Okay. But for the brothers to not get a nomination, even, you know, like for the father, who was fantastic in it, to not show up in a best supporting role nomination, there just seems to be something that's always a disconnect with these major award shows, and that was my major gripe when looking at it. Across the Spider-Verse didn't get nominated for best original score. I think the general public, again, who like you should consider when you're giving awards, would say like sound in that movie's pretty fantastic, right? Yeah. Both the movies so far, both the Spider-Verse movies have stood out from a music standpoint. That's kind of crazy to me. Do you have any other ones that you, when you scrolled through, that you thought were interesting?
No.
Okay. The Iron Claw, John Wick 4, and Priscilla all got 0 nominations. I'm not, the Iron Claw one's the only one I think is super egregious. I do think that there's a world where there's probably something that should have gone to maybe a John Wick. Didn't see Priscilla, but it did seem like the type of movie that should probably get some type of nod at an award show. That's really the only ones I've got on here that bothered me, but I think that's why that these award shows don't get the viewership that they used to. Like, and there are going to be people who go and see all of these movies because they get nominations, and I think that that's where a lot of the buzz for some of these come from. But just like Rotten Tomatoes, I think award shows like this are they're speaking to a completely different audience than who actually cares about this shit.
Yeah.
Do you want to do some reviews?
Let's go.
Let's start with I.S.S.
Okay.
We almost talked about it the other day, and I told you to hold your conversation. I wanted you to go first on this one, if you don't.
Okay.
So do you have the box office before we do that? Did you close the tab?
I sure the fuck did. You watched me do it too.
So yeah, I.S.S. I think
it was 3 million though.
Science fiction movie came out last week. Not a lot of like huge things in the movies right now. We've talked about this to death, but like not a lot going on out there. But we're still going.
Yeah. So they're sitting pretty at 3 million.
What's the budget?
13.8.
Okay. And feels like kind of it's a lackluster performance.
Yeah.
Okay, and your thoughts?
I think cinematography wise, it was actually pretty good in terms of like how they conveyed the whole like them floating in the space station and everything. I thought that stuff looked really good. But the story and the overall like plot just kind of were nothing for me. I kind of left that movie as the credits roll and were like, what was the point of the last hour and a half of my life here?
I am a little bit. I think we both have similar feelings in a way on this movie. I don't think that I have them for the same reasons that you do.
Okay.
I personally thought that it's a movie that, to your point, visually there are some stunning aspects to it. I thought. So for those of you that don't know what the plot of this movie is out there, and I don't think you have the plot in front of you.
Yeah.
To be safe, can you read this off? Because I don't want to give away major, because I don't watch the trailer, so I don't know what was available to the public before I saw the movie. I literally knew nothing about this movie before I walked in. I thought there was a
pretty
chance.
much lays out the whole movie, and the trailer was kind of the reason I wanted to see it.
Okay, so I'll give you a second to read that. I will say this: before I saw the movie, I thought that there was a chance that there was going to be like some type of like virus or some shit that broke out on this space station. I had no idea. I literally knew nothing.
I knew what to expect, and that's kind of where it let me down, but I'll read the plot real quick.
Okay.
Tensions flare in the near future aboard the International Space Station as a conflict breaks out on Earth. Reeling the U.S. and Russian astronauts to receive orders from the ground, take control of the station by any means necessary.
Okay. So here's the thing. I think that the plot itself is interesting.
That's why I went to see the movie.
So not seeing it, just speaking from my perspective, right? Movie starts off a little flat, and I'm like, where's this going? So you start off, not going to be heavy into spoilers, more context around the movie, I think. So not really 3, 2, 1, but if you do plan on going to see this, there'll be time codes down below, and you can skip ahead. Based on $3 million in the first week, I don't think this is major demand to go see this movie. So stick around if you want to hear about it. The movie plays out like, they go up to a space station. It's a girl who's new to the crew. There's somebody who had gone back to Earth, but is been up there for a while and knows the people who are up there. And it's 6 astronauts, 3 American, 3 Russian, sharing a space station, doing scientific work up there. They're not up there to save the world or anything like that necessarily. They're working on stuff for science that is better done. You find out through some of the work that they're doing why they're doing it in space throughout the movie, right? Things like gravity, shit like that.
Yeah.
So interesting enough, but not. I didn't really understand to this point what's going on. They show you the Earth in like one point, and one of the lines that I thought was super interesting, Dante, that like kind of resonated with me a little bit, is the 6 people coming from 2 parts of the world that don't traditionally get along, right? Russia, US. And the line that stood out to me was when they're looking down at the Earth, and they said that like up here, we don't talk about things like politics and any of those types of things that you talk about down on the Earth, because when you look down from here, you see that there's no borders.
Yeah. Yeah.
That we're all like one people. And I think that that's important because of the way it sets up to the rest of the movie. Yeah. Right? So there's this like camaraderie between these 6 people who traditionally, 3 of them probably would have been fine with each other because they're from America. 3 of them would have been from Russia. And like their worldviews don't align necessarily, but because of the fact that they're on this space station and they set clear like guidelines around their conversations, and they've built this like friendship around it, and you have to, because you're stuck in this confined space together for so long. But that line really like stood out to me, and I think it's just in a more global sense, especially after we had just seen Origins, not too long ago.
Yeah,
that listening to a line like that, like when you look at the world from above, there's no borders, is kind of a deep meaning to that. Conflict though breaks out on Earth, and they look out the window the next morning, and it basically looks like the world's on fire. And I thought those were crazy visuals.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was super cool. Like, and all of a sudden they get communication up to their spaceship into what you described there. All this camaraderie goes out the window, essentially, because a war has broken out, and it's between Russia. An active war had happened, and it was between Russia and America. and now they're on the space station, and both individual teams are essentially told to take the space station over. There are no friends up there. Figure it the fuck out.
Yeah.
You know, to lay it out. So I think that that's a super interesting idea.
So I guess I should take back, like, it's not a bad plot, right? It was a promising plot. I just didn't like the execution of it.
Yeah, and so I think I can agree on that front that there are moments to this film that I think are strong. I think some of the characters, the main protagonist, the girl,
Yep.
that was actually, I think all 6, for that matter, played their role pretty well.
Yeah, I don't have any beef with the acting. I just have the beef with the lack of substance in the story.
Yeah, I think that there's just more, right? And funny enough, for a person who, like me, I generally am like, if you keep your movie to an hour and a half, I think it's really hard to fuck it up. And maybe I'm being forgiving to the movie because it is only an hour and a half. So it wasn't there's nothing egregiously bad about this movie. But to your point, I think I did leave largely feeling nothing. Right?
Yeah. It didn't really elicit any emotion from you.
Yeah.
I, at most, when going into this, I feel like, and I know you didn't watch the trailer, but I feel like the trailer framed it up as like more of a thriller. And I thought I was going to get more suspenseful, like, kill scenes.
Yeah. So I think that that's where they missed the boat, right? Is, I thought the spacewalk scene was pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought that was good. I thought the girl's reaction to the spacewalk scene was also decent. I think my issue is the scene in like the airlock where they're fighting with the one has like the drill and one has like the screwdriver.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I didn't like that scene. I thought that one wasn't very good. It was kind of tacky.
Yeah.
In its execution, and I just think that like that scene doesn't fit in a movie that should be built on tension, to your point. I think that whole movie should have been built on tension, and it has these moments, and I think the first 30 or 40 minutes of build-up when you get to know the people and then they find out that they have to work against each other, and you're like, who's going to break first on this agreement?
They kind of set up characters to deceive your expectations.
I just thought that like there was a build-up that was actually pretty solid. They just didn't live up on the back end of some of that buildup. Now, however, I will say this: the end scene, I think the tension is there with the making the sandwich and all of that. I thought that scene was very good.
Oh yeah, okay.
So, I think it was an okay movie. There just wasn't enough. And this is going to be my point. Contrary to what I would normally say, I think this movie could have done with another 20 minutes.
Huh.
To build more suspense, to not feel as rushed in some of the execution of it, to have a little bit more tension built into what's going on, because it is very much like one scene, they're all friends. The next scene, they find out that there's stuff going on the earth. The scene after that, they've already turned on their friend that quickly.
Yeah.
And it just all starts to unfold rather fast. And it's a messy story within there to where some of the plot falls apart, I think. And there's moments that are good, but it's just not enough. And then by the time you get to the end, it's not very satisfying the way it finishes. Fair?
Yeah.
So overall, interesting concept. I think that there was outlines from the plot itself to make a great film. This could have been one of the best of the year if you execute it in a proper way. I think if you do a 2-hour version of this movie with a better overall direction and script, because I think direction matters.
Yeah.
I think that this is one of those instances where I don't know who directed. Can you look up who directed this? And Dante, you're already in IMDb.
Was I? No, I was in box office.
Okay, my bad.
Jesus Christ.
You can't blame me for that.
You're just used to it. I get it. Directed by Gabriella Koberwith.
Can you see what else she's done? Like, does she have a background?
No.
So I think that might be the miss here. Is I think a better director has a better vision for what this movie could have been. And I think the execution was poor on a good concept. So you have your own rankings now.
Yeah.
What did you put this at?
I want to say I gave it 2 stars, and it's last on my list.
So we're gonna have a problem because if we're just gonna have the same rankings and the same list, what's the point having two? As we see more things, I'm sure it'll break out differently.
Yeah.
But I also gave this 2 stars, and I have it ranked last on my list.
I don't even see my star rating. I don't think I put a star rating on it, but definitely would have been 2 stars.
Yeah, I think it's not like a year ago when I saw 65 and was
never
like,
mind. I gave it 1.5.
Okay, that's fair. So we're a little different on that. It wasn't like a year ago where I saw 65 and was just like, this is egregiously terrible.
No, like I said, I think one of the redeeming qualities for the movie and the reason I watched it the whole way through was I really liked the cinematography and like the way they filmed it was good.
Yeah, I think like knowing the budget's only 13 million, what they were able to do as far as like the whole movie, you know what kind of confused me? The way gravity worked in the movie. Because there was like they were floating around
there
that
was
space
stuff
station
that was like
time.
sitting on the table.
Well, so there's stuff that I'm pretty sure was magnetic, and that made sense for me. But there were things that just that didn't make sense, yeah, from a gravity standpoint that happened. And I can't think of them off the top of my head, but there was times
about, like the way they drank liquor.
Well, he drank it out of a straw at one point.
Yeah,
I remember he had they made her put the cap on really quickly because it was going to float out.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think on a $13 million budget from a cinematography standpoint, they did as much as they could.
Like, I think it looked like really convincing zero gravity versus just looking like everybody was on strings.
Yeah. It to me, it all comes back to with a stronger direction. I think this movie had potential to be a lot more. So yeah, for right now, it is last on the list. It's at number 5 because we have seen 5 movies now in 3 weeks.
Whoa, I'm on 6.
You're on, oh shit.
Because I had Anyone But You, remember?
Yeah, okay. You can count that. I don't it's 2003 release, but that's fine.
2003?
2023 release. But yeah, okay, you have 6. But so yeah, I have mine at 5, you have yours at 6. The other movie we saw, probably not as much to go into here, more of a story in line with this one.
Yeah.
So me and Dante
oh god
got together on a Saturday, drove an hour across state lines to go check out a rom-com together.
You know what's sad?
Yeah.
Not even a rom-com. There was no comedy, really.
I thought it was kind of funny.
It's just more of a romantic drama, but sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is more romance than it is comedy, but I thought there were some funny aspects to it. The scene in the closet, her leaving the closet,
yeah.
The dead cat thing. Like, it had some moments of levity, I suppose, in it. But yeah, more drama. So we saw this movie called Which Brings Me to You. I'm the one who asked Tante to see it. I will put that on me. My reasoning is I really like Nat Wolff, who is the lead male in this, and Lucy Hale, who has been doing quite a bit of rom-coms recently, has been really good in almost everyone I've seen her in at this point. So I also, the two of them, I knew nothing about this movie. Again, I don't watch trailers. I don't really read descriptions anymore. I kind of just leave myself open to seeing movies the way, so I have no preconceived notions, if possible, to what they are. And so I just saw 2 actors I really like in a genre that I enjoy and was like, hey, I'm off this weekend. Are you off? Do you want to go see this? Here's the thing. It's not showing in any theaters locally to us. We have to drive an hour to go see it. Interesting, we went to a place called Apple Cinemas. Neither one of us are still sure if that is owned by Apple themselves.
I still don't think so.
I doubt it is. I will say this, though. I like the theater. I thought it was a cool movie theater.
Yes.
So here's the big one. So I get a popcorn and a drink every time I see a movie.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
And this is the first movie theater I've ever gone to. So most movie theaters at this point, you put your own butter on your popcorn. It's a standard. Minimal expectation. First thing I did when I got there, before I bought my concessions, was let me double check if I can put butter on my own popcorn.
Yes.
Not only can you put your own butter on your popcorn, you fill your own bucket, which is crazy.
Straight from the popcorn machine.
Yeah, so you have a little button you press, and it just drops popcorn in your button, and it allows you to butter any way you want to.
Butter while you fill.
It's a revolutionary idea.
I am inclined to drive over there more often for movies just because of this.
On top of that, the seats were pretty comfortable, and every seat had a table.
Oh, yeah, like a little flip-out tray.
Quality of life things that, like, I like the theaters we go to, except for AMC, Braintree. But, like,
yeah,
for the most part, I like the theater experiences that I have. These were just quality of life things that, for people who go to as many movies as we do, truly stand out. It was a nice cinema too.
It was
like
actually
the theater,
pretty nice. Yeah,
the theater itself, like the sound was good. The screens were good. The seats were comfortable. Table, fill your own popcorn bucket. Had a massive bar.
Yeah,
against the wall. Like it just looked like a cool movie theater to have as like your local theater to go to. Wasn't big by any means. It had probably 12 theater rooms.
I think it was 12. Yeah,
and it was like it's not like some of the ones we have here that are just fucking massive. You know, like the Showcase cinemas near us are all pretty big, right? This was not like that at all, but like it was just a nice theater. So props to them on that. But getting back to the movie itself, I'll go first on this one. I liked it. Yeah. I thought that the chemistry between the two of them was very good. It basically delivered on what I wanted it to deliver on, and that is having two strong lead characters. And a lot of times with a romance or a rom-com or a drama movie, that's what you need, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the exterior components are all pretty interchangeable as far as storylines that you get.
They're forgivable.
Like, the plot in a rom-com or a romantic movie is always kind of traditional. You know that they're going to not know each other at first. They're going to get to know each other for a bulk of the middle. Towards the beginning of the third act, you're going to have some type of issue that pops up between them that causes them to question like this relationship that they've built with each other. And then the end of the movie is going to be them finding their way back. Like that's just the way that plots for rom-coms kind of work, right? Across any movie. So what drives those films is both the way that they put them in the scenarios that they're in. And I enjoyed this movie. It basically takes place all over one day, which I liked. And it's just them. I like them kind of third personing each other's history, you know, going back and revisiting previous relationships to look at where they went wrong and how it affected them in the long terms of their lives and having the little commentary that you got out of it. So I liked those aspects of the storyline and then the chemistry of the characters. So for me, it was an overall win.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, again, I didn't know what to expect going into it, but like you said, satisfying as far as like the acting performances, solid story, happy finish. Yeah.
Not too long, like an hour and a half. So I think it pretty much just breezed by as far as runtime is concerned. Not a huge amount to say on it. If it's your genre of movie that you're interested in, if you're looking for a date movie like we were, it's definitely one. Or also if you're looking for a date movie like the only two other people that were in the cinema with us. Yeah, they did. So we go into the theater, we get our food. There's literally nobody else who has bought tickets. While I'm walking past, so another interesting part of this way this theater is, there's nobody selling tickets nor taking tickets. So you walk up to computers and you either press a button saying I've bought a ticket already and you scan it and it prints off like a physical one for you, or you buy your tickets. And I was walking by after I got my popcorn and I looked over and there's this one couple who I see is buying a ticket to the same movie as us. They're the only couple. They're the only other people in this theater. It's me and Dante and a couple. There's 4 people in this whole cinema. I'd asked you before we got there, over under 8 people. It was under. They sit in the very back row. And I already, like, I don't know if I felt guilty a little bit from the very beginning. Because I'm like,
I never feel guilty because, like, at the end of the day, we're there to watch a movie. But, like, there was a point in time where I was like, fuck, do we just give them the cinema? Like,
yeah, because they would have had this, like, this young couple would have had the cinema to themselves to do their thing. But I'll tell you what, people, we didn't stop them.
No.
Love was in the air. And somebody in the theater had to get a hand job, and it wasn't going to be me giving Dante one. So,
damn it.
I mean, there was a lot of butter on my popcorn. It probably would have been a hell of a hand job.
That does not sound good.
But at one point, we hear a bunch of movement. Like, neither one of us are saying anything about it. And it's just funny how it plays out because, like, I'm watching the movie, but my alert signals go up.
Yeah.
Because I start hearing, like, rustling behind me. And, like, I'm like, all right.
We're like, maybe, but whatever.
It seems a little odd. Like, there's no, like, human noises, but it's like the seats moving and, like, rustling around. And you're like, okay, like, what's going on? I can only jump to one conclusion. And the thing that sells us on the idea that it was something more than, like, anything minor is I know we both heard a belt buckle.
Yes, we heard the belt buckle jingling.
Yeah. And then not too long after that, they both leave the cinema. So I think at that point is when we were like, we just both look at each other and like, you were like, were they fucking? And I was like, thank you. I wasn't the only one who fucking heard that. Like, I think they were. So I thought at this point that they were leaving, like they were gone.
I thought they were gone too.
They came back.
What was that, like 10 minutes later?
Yeah. So I don't know if they
probably scoped out the rest of the theaters.
Yeah, they could have done that. I don't know if they needed refreshments because like they're gassed after, like you needed a fresh drink after busting. I don't know what his deal was, but they leave and they come back and they don't come immediately back and go sit in their seats either. Because like I heard them on the other side of the wall when they first walked in. I've said this in the past on here. I'm very alert in theaters.
Yeah.
Like I'm very much paying attention to everything that's going on around me when I'm in a theater. I'm watching who's coming and going. I'm listening to the stuff around me. So I hear them come into the room. And at first I can just hear them kind of like standing there. But then there was like a weird noise at some point. It almost sounded like, what's it like when you do like, like a raspberry, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like that was almost the noise that I heard. And then all of a sudden they popped out from around the corner and they go back to their seats. And you know that we cramped their style or that they thought it was one of two things. We either cramped their style or it was just very funny that us like two 30-year-old men.
I think they were laughing at us, to be honest.
Yeah.
There was a point where they like came around the corner and they were like going up to their seats and they were just like chuckling and like looking in our direction. And I was like, yep.
Yeah.
That was either they were laughing at us or they were chuckling because like, haha, we're about to get busy and they're right there.
I think you're right that it was probably more so that they were laughing.
Yeah.
And you know what? They're right. They were right.
Did you like the sarcastic applause at the end?
I didn't, because I felt shame.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out of there faster. I felt fucking like that's why I was standing up before the credits were like it was dark in the room. And I was like, let's get the fuck out of here. Because this is one of the more questionable sus things that we have done. And we knew this going in, right? And I was prepared to go to this by myself. Like I was going to go see it either way. But like, I think do you think retrospectively it would have been worse if I was by myself or you were by yourself in that situation? It's just like the singular us, like me in the theater. I don't think it makes
any difference.
Yeah, either way, it's like, dude, like, what are these two dudes going to see? Which brings me to you in the Randolph cinema. How'd they even hear about this movie? And it's
it's like there's no difference. What are these two dudes doing here? What the fuck is this dude doing here by himself?
Yeah, what's this creep doing in this fucking theater by himself? It's like how did he know about it? It's like, well, I just scrolled through my AMC app and saw the cover to this movie and was like, hey, I like both of them a lot. Let me see when showtimes are. And it's like, oh, AMC's not playing any of these. This is what's so much better about seeing these movies in Braintree, by the way, is in Braintree, I can sit in the back of the theater and not feel any of this judgment. Because people can't turn around and point at you. But they can sit behind you and do that without you seeing it. And I have to imagine, as a people watcher myself, that this guy... Dude, we were the butt of many a joke for that guy.
Oh, they were talking so much shit.
Like, we made his night because he had material to talk shit with his girl and sound like the funniest guy in the world for that whole night.
Yeah.
But good movie. Good movie overall. I enjoyed it, like I said.
They seem to think so as well. They applauded.
Yeah, I think, again, like, I don't know that they were applauding the movie itself. Okay.
No, they were applauding the joke.
So what's your rating and ranking?
3 stars, and it's number 4 right behind Anyone But You.
Okay. So I have it at 2.5 stars, and I put it at 3.
Okay.
So I just have Beekeeper and Origins in front of it. I have no problem with giving it 3 stars. I think for me, it was more long-term looking out that as the year progresses, I wanted to remind myself that this is probably not a 3-star movie by the end of the year. So I might as well just get ahead of it. I knew that it was better. Like, I have Night Swim and I.S.S. at 2 stars. I know it's definitively better than that. I have Beekeeper and Origins at 3.5. This felt like 2.5 to me.
Okay. I mean,
like thinking back to my year previous too, like to your point, I think I had Anyone But You at 3 stars. I think I had No Hard Feelings at 3 stars. And I think overall those are maybe more enjoyable watches.
Yeah.
A bit different because of the comedy aspect to your point. Those are funnier movies. But yeah, this just 2.5 stars. Ranked 3rd out of 5. So you're at 6 movies for the year. I'm at 5 movies for the year. Not a lot of great stuff coming out until February. We do have some movies in February, but I'm still going to try and find a way to catch some stuff in the next week to try and keep adding to the list because I'm kind of
those numbers.
You know, yeah, I'm on a mission right now, dude. I'm on a mission for 39.
39. You're aiming low.
Well, but that's where we were last year. So
But think about it. You're 5 movies in, and we're not even done with the month.
No, I get that.
Like we realistically could break 60.
We talked about like there's going to be a world where it starts to slow down on us, you know. So I want to bang out as many as I can right now.
Okay.
Build a lead. So
Okay.
if there's a lull, who cares? But okay, let's get into the taste test. Burn through that real quick. I don't think we have a ton. Do you have it?
Do you have it?
Taste. Didn't do that before. First time. Didn't fuck it up.
Yeah, first take.
Stephen A. Smith. Okay, do you have anything this week?
I mean, aside from the movies we just talked about, I also watched Four Brothers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great fucking movie. Super rewatchable movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just kind of scrolling through like, fuck, I kind of want something to watch tonight. And then that popped up and I was like, oh, haven't seen this in a while.
Who's your favorite brother?
Probably Tyrese. I can't remember his name in the movie.
I kind of like Andre 3000.
Yeah, no, he's a scumbag.
Or Garrett Hutland.
Garrett Hudland?
He's the youngest.
Okay. Yeah, he kind of gave me like Jesse from Fast and the Furious vibes.
Yeah, yeah. Mark Wahlberg beating the fuck out of that guy in the snow. Dude. Awesome.
Yes.
Fucking awesome, dude.
That whole scene. Like,
yeah.
No, I loved it. Like, fun, satisfying, superhero-esque action.
Anything else yet?
I also rewatched The Outsiders.
Don't think I've ever watched it all the way through.
No?
No. Think I should.
It's honestly one of my favorite movies. I mean, like, there's not many movies I'll go back to from the 80s and watch over and over again. That's one of them.
Okay. Maybe I'll give it a shot. Where'd you watch it?
So it was either rent it or watch it illegally. And
you watched it illegally.
Yeah. It was on Vimeo. Okay. I thought about just buying it on your Vudu because I do watch it here and there multiple times. So
you and D can both do that sometime, yeah. I had to change the password because of him once.
Yeah, no, I literally was contemplating. I was like,
I reported a purchase on my Vudu once because he didn't tell me, and I was like, I did not buy this.
I literally thought about it as I was contemplating it because I was like, oh, it's $3.99 everywhere. Might as well just rent it on Vudu. And then I was like, oh, $10 to buy it. I could always just send Lenny the money. I was like, then he's going to just change his fucking password on me.
Well, no, if I was told, I wouldn't have cared. It's a week later, and I'm like, what is this charge on my card for a Vudu movie that I did not buy? That was the issue. And it's not that he was trying to get one by on me. He just didn't remember. But it was like, I went to Vudu. I was like, hey, guys, I didn't buy this. What's up with that? So again, either one of you guys want to buy shit on my Vudu account, don't care, just tell me.
Fair.
Fair. Yeah, maybe I'll give it a go at some point.
Yeah, $10 on Vudu right now.
Okay. Okay.
But
so
that movie launched a lot of careers too.
Yeah. Johnny Depp? Am I wrong?
No, Johnny Depp's not in it. You're thinking Ralph Macchio.
Okay. Yeah, same guy.
But I didn't even realize Emilio Estevez is one of the guys in there too.
I wouldn't say that launched his career.
No, it didn't launch his career. It was more so.
Son probably did.
It was more so a launch for Tom Cruise and Rob Lowe.
Great cast though. Yeah, Rob Lowe is like, by launched his career. It's like, I don't think that he ever achieved what he was supposed to coming off of the 80s.
Yeah,
because he was like prototypical hottest guy alive in the 80s.
Yeah,
handsome motherfucker.
I don't know. I think this is a weird conversation to have right now, but yeah, no, I think
Two dudes
Swayze was
talking guys, brother.
Yeah, I think Swayze was the hot guy in that movie.
I mean, he's pretty fucking hot too, dude.
Jesus Christ. Moving on. Why the fuck did we even go there?
All right, so those are the two you watched?
Yeah.
All right, so I watched 3 movies this week. So the Rewatchables is a series that on The Ringer. It's not a movie.
Okay.
It's a podcast series that The Ringer puts out.
Okay.
Which is, they just, they talk about movies that are rewatchable. They do reviews on them. They have some funny categories attached to them. If nobody's ever watched it, it's typically pretty good. They did Under Siege a couple weeks ago, which was awesome. But they were doing Silver Linings Playbook this week. And have you ever seen that movie?
No.
It's on Netflix. Highly recommend. It had been years since I had seen it, but Jennifer Lawrence, this is when Hunger Games is coming out, when she's like 21 years old, super young actress, hadn't really done a ton, ends up getting nominated for a bunch of awards, one of Bradley Cooper's best roles at the time. He's obviously gone on to have a million really good roles, one of the best actors in the world at this point, nominated for the Maestro and all that stuff this year. But yeah, really good rom-com with some like super like dramatic, like well acted parts of the movie. It's a rom-com, but it's like one of the high-end rom-coms that's built on like great character work and also has a really strong story to go with it. So highly recommend that one. And I also watched the Rewatchables to go along with it. So I kind of liked being able to watch the movie and then listen to them talk about it. And, having seen the movie recently, remember all the things that they're talking about. Because I found with Under Siege, a movie I've seen a million times, it was easy for me to follow along. But like, there's times where I want to listen to it, but it's a movie I haven't seen in a while, and I just don't remember everything that they're talking about.
Okay.
Speaking of renting a movie, I rented a movie called Aloha, which is also Bradley Cooper. It's Bradley Cooper, Rachel McAdams, and Emma Stone. A movie that got hated on a bunch when it came out because Emma Stone plays a half Hawaiian, half Asian woman, which she is very clearly not Asian, and she got a lot of hate for that. But she was cast in the role, so it really isn't like a huge fucking thing. But it's the whitewashing of Hollywood idea. So I get it. But movie that got trashed, it has a great cast. I believe Alec Baldwin's also in it. Bill Murray is in it. John Krasinski. And what's the dude? Fourth guy down. What's his name?
Danny McBride. Yeah,
so great cast. Really enjoyable movie, I thought. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's an arms dealer, like a private contractor arms dealer who has been like on the downswing of his career, kind of hated in the world of that business. His last shot is going back to Hawaii, where he spent a lot of his time. His ex-girlfriend or his old love is Rachel McAdams. She's moved on, had kids with somebody, but he hasn't spoken to her in like 13 years. Goes back there to launch a satellite into space from Hawaii, but it's going to have missiles attached to it, basically, and that's like breaking a bunch of laws and the airspace laws and all this stuff. Emma Stone is like the young military girl who's like showing him around, and it's kind of cool, like just him like getting okay with his previous life, but also moving on to a new one. He's like the dude who can't have emotional attachments to anybody and all this stuff, and like has to work through all of that. But obviously, like really strong actors drive really strong performances, and like I thought it was overall a pretty good movie. Last one I watched, I caught this movie Playing It Cool, which is a Chris Evans movie with Bridget Monahan, and also a movie where it's like one of the
Michelle Monaghan.
Bridget, sorry. Another rom-com. Good cast. Topher Grace is in it. Luke Wilson is in it. Also Aubrey Plaza. Yeah, it's the other
Anthony
one.
Mackie's in there.
Yeah, super young Anthony Mackie, because it came out in like 2012.
Huh.
But he's a writer who
14.
Basically, like he's a screenwriter. Whenever he hears stories, he puts himself into the perspective of like the main characters, and like you kind of see it play out through all these different like stories that they're telling in the movie. As he meets a woman who is engaged to get married, and he falls for her and has to deal with the idea of her not like reciprocating necessarily. He's never really loved anybody and is falling in love with this girl, but she's marrying somebody else. And it's all about him envisioning himself as a main character and being super self-centered around that idea, and him having to learn to like be able to see other people's stories around him. So yeah, also very good. So those are my 3 for the week. All rom-coms. I've clearly been on a very big rom-com kick. There's actually a Letterboxd list that's just called Chick Flicks, and I've just been scrolling through it. And it's like I've seen 9 million of them, but it's good to just go back and watch some of them. And every once in a while, I come across one like this that I haven't seen in a long time, or I've never seen, and I'm like, oh, I like Chris Evans a lot. I like Bridget Monahan. Let me check that movie out. And it was a good watch.
You keep saying Bridget.
What is her name again?
Michelle.
Michelle. Eagle Eye. Shia LaBeouf movie. I don't know why I keep saying Bridget. Is Bridget Monahan? Who the fuck is that? Is that the one who had a kid with Tom Brady? Bridget Moynihan. Regardless. Let us know what you've been watching out there, though, people. It's been a pleasure, as always. Thank you for sticking around as long as you have. Like we said earlier in the video, if you could drop a like on this one, subscribe, tell a friend, ask a friend, all of that good shit. You can find us anywhere audio podcasts are provided. Dante will stream again. We are in the new year. He promised us. Don't let him not do that. Hold him accountable to that shit, please. I am rushing because we're almost out of time here. I love you all. And until next week, we bid you adieu. We bid you adeuces. Bang. All right, hold on. Bang, bang. Sorry.
Did you fuck up your gunshot?
Well, no, it's just my hand was off the screen.
For those with good taste.